there is no deciding factor of which side is right. But first, let me tell you about this. Like, one time I went to this chicken farm and I bought all these chicken eggs and I took them home. And basically, I wanted to get better eggs than the ones I was getting at the grocery store because those are not natural. Like, those are coming from chickens that are, oh, they have so many chemicals put in them, like through the roof. And then they also have garbage food that is fed into them and is specifically designed to make them grow faster. And everything is like amped up genetically in them. And so, like, the eggs that are produced are not as natural. So, going to get eggs from, like, let's say where it's free range, like, I can collect them, I can see where the chickens are eating from, and I can look at the eggs myself and see them and know that, okay, these eggs are still dirty, I need to wash them myself. And I see where the chickens are eating, I observe them in their fields, and it's like, this is a good operation. Like, still, like, on a spiritual level, I do not know, like, how the how it counts eating the egg, because that's the beginning of a life. And then I'm just ingesting the materials to start forming a body once life is connected to it. So is there anything, like, inherently wrong with that? Like, am I guilty of anything? I don't know. And, like, part of me says, yes, that's guilty because you're exterminating a life. But, and then part of me wonders, like, would it ever become a chicken actually? Or is it just an inert egg that got eaten? And so I think about that. It's like, well, I do appreciate the egg yolk and the whites for what it does for my body and helps me grow. But if that chicken mom had a consciousness and I could have a conversation, what would she say to me? Like, maybe that's why she's screaming every time I would go out there. It's like, it's like, I just don't understand their language of, like, you're holding me hostage and eating my eggs. Like, that's my young, you know? Or what if they're just at that position in, like, the circle of life where they're like, hey, and they know that not all of them will become chicken eggs or chickens. And so they're actually happy with us collecting the eggs and using them for us, because what we're doing is we're providing them food, we're providing them shelter, and they're actually content with the fact of knowing, like, hey, all of these won't become like little chickens. It's like, okay, cool. So there's that whole aspect. And so looking at both points of view, they're both right. Like, they are both correct. Like, it could be both of those at the same time. So it is and it isn't that. And so that's where I've come down and to the decisive position of there is, like, there is no deciding factor of which side is right. So basically, I choose to use them to help my body sustain itself or be built from good building blocks, which is, like, there's nothing better than, basically, those are the nutrients that a body needs. But the human body needs a different array than just what's inside of egg. But there's some dang good building blocks in there that help the body recover faster if you're using it specifically for that purpose, being thoughtful and eating in a way that's, like, at a prime time during the day after exercise, where your body's, like, going to absorb as much as possible, but then also not at a time where it's not going to be as absorbed. So it's like the contents that I'm getting, like, I'm going to use them to their fullest potential, and I'm not going to put a bunch of junk in there also, because if I do, like, it's going to pass along not only the junk but the good stuff too. So if I only put good stuff in there, it just gets used to absorbing the good stuff. So I know for a fact that this quality building material is appreciated and is going towards an actual good cause, which is building of a human body who is actually wanting to help people heal. So it's like literally, like, it's like a circle of the life right there, how it goes from like a building block level to like a transformational level into like concepts and ideas. And that is supported by even the smallest things of like caring for the body properly, because it helps with the faster thought process by having a healthy brain and also healthy nervous system and healthy musculature system, and stretch consistently and do different body movements. And it helps put everything in order and keep it balanced. So there's a huge part of the human existence which is exerting tons of energy. And so basically at different times of day, thousands of years ago, our ancestors might have had to run for maybe an hour or two, or get in a massive fight randomly at least every 3 to 4 days, because it was survival of the fittest. So then the body knows that every few days this will happen, but it will always be prepared at a level to be able to do that if it needs to happen. So that means that there's also this lower level to maintain that ability consistency to use as much as the body as possible for an extended amount of time. So maybe an hour at most. So each day this could be applicable to like one day chopping wood, one day gathering stones, one day swimming across a river, one day chopping a tree down. So just all these different things maybe require an hour of like input from a body, a human body, in a thoughtful way. I guess to look at it a little bit deeper. So for me, like using the body extraneously for at least 1 hour a day, and not always to 100%, maybe from 75 to 85%, that is still a big output, and it takes a lot of effort. So that being done every day helps the balance of my human condition, because whether I like it or not, there's like this base level of this human body that has always existed. Basically, like if there was a time machine, the little me could be transported 1,000 years back in time, and given the right circumstances and teaching, I could make it there. Like the only difference is our surroundings and the amount of knowledge, like just the whole societal structure, but the human element is still here. So every day exerting like all of that like extra energy creates a balance. Because if we don't have a place to get that output that just is part of our human nature, because it would kick back in those natural instincts of like heightened hearing. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the survivors, it would be heightened sensitivity to smell, to hearing, becoming a lot more aware and smarter of what to eat and what not to eat. So learning the surroundings, basically the survival mechanisms kick in. And if we never have those survival mechanisms of like just being creative and constantly exploring and constantly looking for opportunities of like, can I eat this? Can I save this? Can I sleep in here? You know, and you may not even be using those words. You would be using concepts in a period of time where you weren't taught language. But we have to like deconstruct what we have learned and look at ourselves as just the human condition. It's like, what does this need and require every day? Well, it needs to be fed very well. It needs to be cared for, and that means it's like basically you've been given the finest machine in the universe, and it needs to be cared for in the finest way possible. So why not do that? And then you can meet the outermost extremes of the capability of the human body by doing that. So anyway, to bring that all around, the reason I wanted to hook y'all in was just to kind of talk about my thought process on life. The end.